Let's see exactly how it's going to play out, though. We are ready for the pick and ban phase. It's Reach versus ISMOO. Chat, let us know who you think is going to go through to the next round. And once more, we head into the Lion's Den with Sam and Say.
Here we go. Will he be reaching out, using Nephthys, defeating ISMOO, SWC? Oh, SWC. Here we go, Europe prelims, baby. Let's go. We've got ISMOO versus Reach. It is in their losers round 2, set 1. We had pre-ban of Nephthys and Han already straight away, Say.
Yes, we definitely do signal. We have a lot of the speed units being banned, but we're still picking up a lot of speeds over there. We have the Oliver speed lead, we have the Moore and the Segment speed lead. ISMOO definitely did look at last week where we saw a lot of Heigang. Heigang was picked up very well and is definitely a strong unit against most of the things that a lot of European players bring.
Yeah, but you can see Reach reacting with that Moore and Sekhmet. Both of them had positive win rates during last weekend. So must have done his homework, seeing that the units are very strong or they were performing strong. And ISMOO reacting with his new Yonghon maybe had a bit more time to practice with it.
Yeah, Yonghon is definitely a very nice pickup, but it's also a unit you kind of have to get familiar with. Because the big thing about Yonghon, which makes her slightly weaker, is that skill 2 is inconsistent. The moment you throw that skill 2, you want to strip. With that strip, you get the boost. If you don't strip, you're gonna take the regular turn order that was already shown. And in this case, we have Reach picking up that Veronica. He was not using the Veronica too much last week. It was slightly nerfed in previous balance patch, and therefore maybe not picked up as much, but it's a very comfortable unit for Reach, so I definitely like to see him pick it up.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. He's maybe going back to what he's used to, and that's going to put him in good stead. We have a Jemaya on the field at the moment. It was only appeared twice last weekend, and it's got a 50% win rate, so I'm wondering if ISMOO is just needing it for a bit more of the speed lead, since he's got the Yonghon on the field. But what he's going to partner it with, he's got a bit of time to decide as we're going into it.
Yeah, that Jemaya is definitely signaling, okay, you have 2 units that reset cooltime. You have the Veronica for that, you have the Sekhmet for that. Jemaya can undo that with its 3rd skill and actually give all of the skills back to everyone. So Jemaya is definitely a good pickup. And I definitely do like that Praha as well. Followed up by a Douglas. So the Douglas says pretty much none of the units except for the Yonghon maybe can actually deal with the Douglas. So that is probably a respect ban right there. But on the other side, I would say that Jemaya ban might have to be respected as well.
Yep, you've called it. Jemaya banned out and Douglas banned out, meaning that we'll have the 2 speed leads of Oliver and Moore as we're going in to this first set between ISMOO versus Reach. Oh, this is going to be a killer match as we go in, and Yonghon is taking first turn.
Yeah, so Yonghon has the first turn here. You have 2 choices. Either try to go for that strip as mentioned, but as you can see, if you miss that strip, misses the strip, and then we have Segment moving next, and that's exactly what I talked about during the drafting phase. That is the risky part, and a lot of Yonghon players that played a lot with her before, they know that risk. But on the other side, we also have a resistance on that Oliver.
But I think it got all.
He got everything. He got everything. So that is definitely very strong in the favor of Reach right now. The Praha is definitely something that can cycle a lot of turns and get the skills back up. However, on the other side, we do have that Raccoon. We do have a lot of sustain, and that's a lot of damage from the Praha.
Oh, big stuns as well coming out from Moore, managing to get 2, which is going to be huge now because he's not going to be able to take a turn with those units unless they're proccing out. Sekhmet coming in again, going for skill 2, landing the heal blocks, landing the defense breaks. Everywhere.
That is a lot of defense break, and mainly the defense break on that Praha. That was maybe going to seal the deal, because the defense break on the Praha, if you take the Praha out of the field right here, once again misses on that Sekhmet. Veronica skill 2 doesn't do damage anymore from speed, but still has a lot of damage, and we have 3 debuffs on the side of Praha, which is probably going to be taken out right there.
Yeah, I mean, she's not going to be able to live through this, I can imagine. We've got Yonghon coming up. There's still only skill 1s available because of the cool times that were inserted. Bye-bye, Praha.
Yeah, that's Praha off the field, probably following into that Yonghon next, so that's no more healing on the side of ISMOO whatsoever. Even though the Segment didn't land any of her skills except that skill 2. Normally Segment is always played for that skill 3. You have to reset. If we don't reset, we don't win. In this case, Segment was just needed for those armor breaks, those heal blocks. Well, even heal blocks were not needed. Veronica sealed the deal for all of those healing potentials, and we had so much damage on the side of all of the units from Reach to seal the deal when we actually have that armor break in there. And that is the victory for Reach.
Wow, huge. So managing to miss the strip from Yonghon really caused an issue there for ISMOO to be able to get things off on track. But then also for Reach, managing with that Veronica, inserting all cool times, meaning that those units become a little bit irrelevant for the next few turns. Wow. Sekhmet keeping her high win rate, I should tell you, say as well. She's still over a 64%. Huge.
Yeah, that's definitely a very strong unit that people pick up. It's always very dangerous in that draft because you know that one has the potential to outspeed you. And with that potential there, it's always difficult to draft a round where you could say like, okay, do I kind of want to overtake that with a faster unit as that Yeon Hong? Or do I just want to go turn 2 and see what happens with that skill 3? But as mentioned, that skill 2, if it decides to land those heal blocks, those armor breaks, and even the cleansing in there, can be very detrimental for the enemy as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering now in these round of pre-bans if we're going to see potentially another hand banned so that there's no contest for it. I mean, Nephthys is now back on the field, so Reach does have the option to try and use it during this match. We have a Yonghon and we have a Laura. Does he know something we don't know, say?
Reach actually does have a Laura, so it's definitely a well-respected ban. Reach hasn't shown it too much. He actually hasn't shown too much of his Veronica and Laura last week, but he definitely does have both of them. So in this case, Reach takes the Oliver.
Yeah, going for that speed lead with 33%. And ISMOO deciding to go back with the Mort and stealing the Sekhmet.
Yeah, so we definitely go in reverse both ways of those first drafts. Is that going to be in the favor of ISMOO this time? We do have the Nephthys being picked up by Reach. And decides not to go for full speed potential, but we go for a Masha, which is a lot of damage, especially with the Nephthys in there.
It is a lot of damage, although last weekend it was only at a 50% win rate, so it was touch and go whether it actually fully worked out. We have the Han, so it has been then picked up by ISMOO, not allowing Reach to pick that coming up in his 4th and 5th picks. And for ISMOO now, it looks like he's trying to go for that turn 1, so who's he going to partner it with, say?
Something like a Dark Robo would really be fitting over here if he decides to go for the Han. Takes away the Han, goes for a Pra, and actually goes for Tomoe. Pretty interesting of a combination because Tomoe is mostly for spreading a lot of debuffs. You have a lot of debuffs with the Sekhmet, but besides that, it is not too much there yet. We do have a Camilla being picked up from Reach. That's also somewhat more of a protective. So both players, rather than going for the high speed that they showed in last match, are more going for a somewhat like protective thing in there. But we definitely do see that Veronica being back on the battlefield.
I mean, she was very, very impactful in that last set, managing to get all the cool times. I'm sure Reach is hoping for a little bit more of that. And interestingly with the Camilla, she's at 75% win rate in EU prelims, as ISMOO now locks in Cigar as well, hinting at that first turn.
Yeah, looking at this draft, the Veronica is the only stripper on the field, so definitely probably banned, because from that you can actually decide to outslow the enemy and play from there. However, ISMOO would probably still, it's the big question, like how many non-willed runed units do we have on the field? Maybe that more, maybe that segment, and we have both speed leads being picked up from both players.
Here we go, we're going into the set 2, Reach versus ISMOO. ISMOO needs to win, otherwise he's going to be exiting now already at the prelims. Sekhmet moving first, does she manage to land? Third skill, she goes for the Oliver, gets the cool time.
I actually want to mention one thing. Look at the rune quality of ISMOO. ISMOO has a 24 lead and managed to outspeed a 33 lead across the board on all units. That is definitely insane, and that is what enabling this match, because by draft Oliver should have moved first. There were a bunch of units off wheel, but ISMOO is just sitting in the driver's seat right now, simply because, well, he landed most of his stuff, very important. But what's very important as well is he had those rune quality to actually outspeed.
Here you go. So Nephthys does proc out big. I mean, she's got the suppression on her, so if she uses a skill, she's going to lose a lot of health down to this. But is it potentially even worth it at this point? No. Going for skill 1. Oh, the counter didn't stun. That would have been crazy.
Personally, I would have probably thrown that skill. In this case, actually, the Sekhmet, her sister, didn't land anything on the Nephthys, which is somewhat unlikely. But you could have had glancing at that moment on the field. Also, with this Masha skill too, if there's a lot of debuffs on the enemy, Masha will pretty much cycle out of everything. Well, if you just proc, you also cycle out of everything. So that's also a way. That's also a way. But let's see if the Nephthys can actually get this skill 2 off. Oh, and that's a big counter plus a stun. So it was not on will, but it was on revenge. And you have that revenge stun. Yeah. That was very strong.
It's been revenging a few times as well. Camilla's got a little bit of something to say to try and get some more heals in with her team. Sekhmet's third skill is available. You have to reset that Nephthys, right? You gets it. Perfect.
Yeah, without that reset, that would have been a very strong Sekhmet skill too. But we have the Masha going time and time again. And that could definitely seal the deal at some point, because it starts dishing out quite some damage with that passive stacking up.
Exactly, but Oliver with no skills means that he's just going to put the passive of Moore. Moore has second skill available. Manages to get a stun on the Camilla. Can Praha look to take out that Nephthys? Oh, maybe.
doesn't take it out, but in this case, I would probably... You could go for the heal. Heal's kind of a safe play right there, but clearing out the units is definitely a fine playing there too.
It's exactly like we said last week, right? If it's on the field, it's still dangerous. If it's off the field, you don't have to deal with it. Maybe you can deal with it the next time. Praha, with all skills available, can look now. They're just dealing that damage into the Marsha until she's gone.
Yeah, killing that Marsha off, very strong, but this Tomoe has been landing so many stunts, and that's very high value on the side of ISMOO. And this is definitely looking at ISMOO's favorable draft here, but once again, that rune quality that outspeeds a 33 lead across the board. That is some insane stuff right there. We see stunts going left and right. Interesting to note, Camilla cleanses passive the moment you crit her. Camilla has been stunned for 3 or 4 rounds, which is pretty interesting to see as well. That's normally not really a side that you expect Camilla to see. It could have been, in this case, maybe better a Chow that actually cleanses off stuns the moment you get a turn. But on the other hand, you expect something to crit at some point. But we've seen so many Camilla stunts, and because of that, the unit just couldn't give the freezes back to the enemy team, and that is definitely very favorable for ISMOO.
Here we go, we've got Sekhmet coming in, Oliver is now off the field, and now we're just planting all of that damage into the Camilla. Wow, ISMOO bringing it back, 1-to-1 versus Reach. Hopefully, it seems like everyone is finally prepared for this weekend, right? I mean, there was going in, knowing what to do. ISMOO now coming off the back of that win. Do you think he needs to look to ban out the same units as the first round, or since it didn't go super well for him, maybe change things up slightly?
Well, I think keeping the Nefties in, ISMOO does know right now he is faster. So having that in your mind, knowing like, okay, even if he takes the Nefties, if I take my general units on a 24 lead, even if I don't have the Oliver, I will outspeed you. So Reach does need extra units on top of that to potentially outspeed. So in this case, we actually have that Veronica ban because of that.
Yeah, and we've seen the Han ban as well. Han actually with a 45% win rate last weekend, just because it seems a lot of the EU players are using Han as well. 30% speed lead and also doing a hell of a lot of damage when he lands his defense break. It's really nice to watch, I'll be honest, when it actually all lands and works. We've got here ISMOO deciding to steal the Oliver from Reach's side.
So probably going back to the Moore plus Sekhmet, but we have seen the winning factor going back and forth that the Moore and Sekhmet wins the Oliver. So is that something that Reach is going to go for? He actually goes for the Nefties right now, which might be somewhat of an early pick Nefties, because you can decide to pick it later, but we're going for that Hey Gang, which I definitely do like to see over here.
Yeah, I mean, Hey Gang, as we know, it was super prevalent during prelims last weekend, and it's sitting at a healthy 67% win rate. So when drafted right, it can definitely do a lot of good things for your team. ISMOO looking to take that Sekhmet, which I'm pretty sure is definitely going to be outspeeding everything if we saw what ISMOO's runes efficiency and quality you were saying from his draft last time. We have Cigar, and Reach decided now to maybe steal that Tomoe.
Yeah, going for the Tomoe. Tomoe is a very nice pair with that Nefties in general. It's also a great speed lead. Probably a better speed lead in this case than if you would want to draft in the Moore, because you're fighting a lot of wind units already. Plus that Marsha once again, because you're fighting a lot of wind units already. ISMOO, are you going to pick up some water units to counter that, or are you going for some neutral elements to just kind of work your way around here? You do not have a speed lead right now, but I still think without speed lead, a Sekhmet and a Yeonhong would outspeed. Gianna's definitely not the greatest of picks here because you have that Hey Gang on the field. Abellio could be an option, but you're fighting that heal block. So Praha might be a better all-round pick right there.
Here we go. He's gone for that Praha, which he used very well in the previous rounds. We've got Reach now being able to kind of have a little decision. He sees what's on the field. And probably already in his head is thinking about what he needs to ban out, right? I mean, we saw Douglas. Douglas is back in the frame again.
Yeah, Douglas is back in the frame, but this time it's not a must ban, because actually Sekhmet can deal with the Douglas. You have that skill 1 armor break. The moment that armor break sticks on the Douglas, it's kind of doable to deal with. And I would say that removing that Hey Gang is very impactful. On the other side, you have a bunch of choices that you could remove, but none of them have like an overvalue of saying like this is the must ban.
Here we go then. Let's see if Reach decides out. He bans the Praha, and we've got the Douglas ban as well, so we have the speed leads on both of these guys who are going to be taking it through. Wow, this is the deciding factor. This is going to be the set that decides who is going to be advancing to those semi-finals and taking the first turn. Is that Yeonhong with a Sekhmet following it very soon?
Yeah, let's see. You can push the Yeonhong to move or to have anything move in front, or you can just simply decide in this case not to go for the skill 3 right away, or not to go for the skill 2 right away. Don't go for that risky play again, but actually misses. a huge potential strip and a reset on that Nefties, and that's definitely something that ISMOO needed right now.
Oh,
Does it land it a second time? You have to land this segment, you have to land it. Segment also doesn't land it. Nothing is a landing. ISMOO, these units are not working in your favor right now. And from here, you can very simply go into Wusa skill 2, Nefty skill 2. Tomo is going to spread everything. We're gonna have the Marsha going in with the skill, going to do so much damage. Probably insta-clearing a unit, doesn't insta-clear, but gets full attack bar pretty much. You don't even have to go for the Karma. You can just simply go for skill 3, push back all of the attack bars, decides to still go for the still. It's going to spread all of those debuffs, and that is definitely going to take out the Yeonhong at first, but also despair stunning everything, or not even despair stunning, just spreading the stun, hitting everything, and that's going to seal the deal for ISMOO. Reach is so much in the driver's seat right now. There's nothing gonna go wrong for him at this moment.
It looks like a TOA hard right now, so there was so many debuffs going around there, and you can see Marsha, she's got skill 2 available. It's time. What an upset! Wow!